y'all. Welcome back to Ascending with Ashley. I'm Ashley. We're gonna do a collective reading using the Yin Yang Oracle, which we haven't used in a really long time because I wasn't here. Also, we're at a new angle because I put together the laser engraver, and it's sharing my desk with me. There it is. So, new angle, new beginning. I have no idea how to use this shit. I guess it has its own Wi-Fi and you have to hook it up. Alright, we got cards going every which way. I'm watching Dazed and Confused. The dogs are gossiping. We're gonna make this happen. This movie is so crazy. Right before I moved out west, I was super into like classic rock. That's what I was listening to in Green Bay a lot. I think it's because my CD player didn't work, honestly. There was this one radio station. Anyway, this song is taking me back. Alright. Who is that guy? He was in that other show in the 90s. Salute Your Shorts. Isn't that the same guy? No, it wasn't that one. It was that other cowboy one. Anyway, I have to do some Googling. Alright, we have a lot of energies coming out. Ben Affleck and Matthew McConaughey are both in this movie if you've never seen it. They were young. Alright. Change, the courage to change. Guilt and sabotage. Self-worth, expectations. Venus, offer. Reflection, projections. Closed off, guarded. Fate, divine intervention. Toxicity, bound in patterns. Higher self-activation. So this energy is very imbalanced. Very back and forth. Divine feminine. Hot attraction and Mars. Mars rules Aries. We're in Aries season right now. Renewal spark. My throat chakra is like starting to act up a little bit.
Nick O'Banion's going to be the first senior in history to take that on 2 years in a row. Guy's a dick, right?
Guy's a dick.
Yeah, he's kind of a joke. It's not a bad guy to have on your side, though, Black. Yeah. Cheated on your shit, man.
I'm being called to remind myself that the energy I really wanted to read on was the collective in the like grand scheme of what's happening today. The main thing is that like genocide has been so normalized that it's now like a threat that's being made like at a large scale, right? Like whatever Trump texted or whatever he did, I don't know, tweeted. If none of us have Truth Social, how are we getting with this information? Anyway, someone has to have it, I guess. So, I think that's I think there's a lot of feelings of hopelessness. There's a lot of feelings of 1993 that movie came out. There's a lot of feeling of I think hopelessness. I think it's also very much I don't know. I'm not getting any like fear. I mean, of course I'm not the one being, threatened, but usually I can pick up on collective energy, and I don't feel like I feel like it was a hollow threat, right? That's what I'm trying to say. Now, this man says a lot of shit, and he always has a way to follow through. But, there was just a lot leading up to this point that it feels like just running your mouth some more. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. That's my take on it. Usually, if I'm tapped in, I can feel... Like, I saw everybody talking about it, but... For me, it feels very charade-like. It feels like this is a theatric. Hopefully, that's what it is. I haven't been on that side of TikTok yet. I mean, it's 8 o'clock where I am, so 8 o'clock Eastern time has already long passed. Hang on. Can't put my hair around my ear when I have that on. Also, I found my initial Bluetooth case. I thought Niall hit it. I don't think he did. Hang on. I'm seeing Iran celebrate. These people are crazy. Anyway. I just wanted you to know that when I started this reading, that was initially my intention, so to read on this energy. So collectively speaking, yeah, we've got change, courage to change, and guilt and sabotage as our first two energies coming out. We have renewal and spark, and hot and attraction. A lot of fire energy. Again, we are in Aries season, which is a fire sign. Aries is the baby of the zodiac. So we're starting the entire zodiac. We're in the very beginning right now. I don't really like this angle. I'm trying to get my body comfy. We have self-worth, expectations, offer, reflection, projections. Closed off, guarded, resistant. What are you resisting? Spring and seeds. Is there some sort of offer that you are I know I'm a little bit all over the place. Yeah, I think the thing about like what we're experiencing at a collective level and why that pertains to our individual situations or experiences or well-being or lack thereof is because everything is a reflection of projections and reflection. Like there's a saying, as within so without, as above so below, which means like there's the what we're experiencing at a collective level is, this is going to be hard for a lot of people to grasp, I think, but it's a like each of us are experiencing this in our own experiences, right? Each of us are experiencing all of the horrible atrocities that we're seeing in real time, that we're being we're being exposed to. It's funny because the reason I just made that face is because the word penetrate came through. So we're being we're being exposed to all of this stuff, but it's more than exposure. It is this like deep penetration of an energetic like tug of war, which is why I said initially like this energy's teeter-totter. It's imbalanced. And it might not be imbalanced because, it takes light and dark to find balance, right? It takes good and bad to find balance. So it's not that it's imbalanced, but it is overwhelming. Now we do have divine feminine here. We have fate, divine detours, and we have the higher self activation. We have this freedom, opportunities, and leap. I think one of the things that I learned from social theory when I was learning my master's degree about struggle and crisis, right, is that crisis is an opportunity. It's a time and space for opportunity. And it takes a lot of balance within yourself to be able to see an opportunity within crisis, not be carried away with the bad, right? Not turn to victim mentality or addictions or scarcity mindset or other debilitating behaviors, thought patterns. It takes a lot to find the opportunities within crisis. And I think when we're seeing these people go to the extremes that they are going to for whatever it is that they're trying to, it becomes so detached from the world to keep my own consciousness. Not that I'm becoming apathetic, but I'm making sure that my soul and my innocence and my own ability to create and still see opportunity within crisis. I'm very, very protective of that aspect of myself. And so maybe someone out here needs to know that too. Like, it's totally okay. It's not okay to be completely apathetic. It's not okay to be ignorant. But it is okay to protect that space within you, right? Because as within, so without, right? So as you're seeing all of this atrocity, threatening of nuclear war, like they're asking you what kind of drink you want, right? Like the casualty, the casualty of casualties, right? The normalization of atrocity. It's important to protect ourselves from that. Because when we do accept it as a normalcy, as just the way things are, as out of my control, out of my hands, how could I even do anything about that? That's not my responsibility. When we do that, when we remove ourselves from any sort of responsibility to the collective, and the collective includes all living beings, it includes the seeds, it includes the plants, it includes the bugs, it includes the earth itself. When we, I'm losing my thought. When we are able to find opportunity because we understand that life is all encompassing, right? I mean, these people are crazy. And as a collective, like, I think we need to be very careful about the energy in which we give these charades, right? Obviously, threatening nuclear war is a big deal, but he's all over the fucking place. Like, I think he's just, I don't know. I think also when I hear threatening to nuke, I think of Gaza, and I think of how, a long time ago, since October 7th, 2023 to this point now, within this 3-year block, almost 3 years, the amount of bombs that were used in Gaza, which again is like a 20-mile strip of land, was way more than what the nukes, like the bomb power used in Gaza was more than the nuclear bombs that were used in Japan. So today when I saw that he was threatening that stuff, it made me think of that. Like, well, maybe you didn't necessarily use nuclear I don't know. I'm thinking of Bob Marley right now. Don't fear, have no fear for atomic energy. None of them can stop the time, is the lyric. I know I'm all over the place. So I guess what it's saying is like, what is your self-worth? And not in an egotistical standpoint, but like, and I think that's the reason people keep their egos, is because they lack self-worth. They need external validation, just like the man that we're speaking of. Like, he needs so much attention constantly that it's like it gives the energy of like the boy that cried wolf, right? Like, and I think that's where we're at right now. We're in this space of needing to be very careful of not normalizing it or just shrugging it off, which again, I kind of am in this space, but because I don't feel disaster in my energy. I don't. Again, I'm not the ones in the path of the bombs, and bombs are being dropped. Israel is fucking up Lebanon. They're continuing to go after Gaza, right? There is plenty of conflict. There are plenty of people that are affected by this. But in regards to this collective conversation that took over the consciousness today, I don't feel like nukes are going to be used at this point. Maybe. But I think when we do... Okay. How do I articulate this? When we are... Again, okay. So we're going to go back to the crisis and opportunity. Look at what our country threatened today, if you're in the United States. The end of a civilization. That's heavy, heavy language, right? Again, after watching a genocide be normalized for 3 years, right? And I mean, genocides happen all over Africa, right? But again, the world is predominantly anti-black when it comes to information. It's one of the reasons I wanted to study Africa in college, because nobody ever talked about it. And I was like, why? The crisis and opportunity. So Iran, let's take Iran, and let's take the resilience of the folks who are in the path of the bombs. I know we're really going a lot in other things, but I think this is important to talk about, because it does affect us. Even if we're not paying attention, subconsciously, the collective consciousness is very affected by this. I mean, the think pieces that I saw everybody talking about today with what he tweeted or truth socialed or whatever, the opportunity in the crisis. Iran was given this information, this threat today, and their response was to show up and show out, not to cower, not to run, not to be afraid, but to join in community, to protect the things that they find important to them, right? Find is a weird word. The things that are important to them. If you don't know, a lot of folks in Iran today, after that was tweeted or whatever, went to like power plants and made human chains, like stood around and held each other's hands around the power plant, right? So it was this acknowledgement of, I mean, that's what we're talking about. In a space of crisis, they took the opportunity to show their resilience, to show that they weren't afraid, to honor themselves and the things that they have and they've built. You know, Iran is a really old civilization. Like, I saw someone say today that they're like over 2,000 years old, right? We are in the year 2026. So think about that. The United States is 250 years old. So it's like the little, you know, if we think about it in human terms, it's like the little sibling that like won't stop poking you with a stick, right? And like, you know, Iran is being a very mature elder about what the United States is bullying, right? And Israel is even, not even, 1948? How old is Israel? Israel. Mm. 78 years old. Isn't that like how old Trump is? Trump is 79. So that's kind of funny. US and Iran said that they agreed to a 2-week ceasefire. Again, there was a lot of theatrics today, and it did what they wanted. It milked the consciousness of the people. It served as a huge energy source. I wasn't online a lot today. I was working on making stuff a lot. But when I was on, I was definitely sharing the things about his tweet, because I think it is an important, I don't want to say historical moment, but I think it is an important moment in the scheme of things. Now, a lot of people are even speculating that Iran and is in on this, right? As they're all working together, and I think there could be some validity to that. I don't know. We'll see how it pans out. But either way, wherever you live, the governments are not your friend. Right? So, everything has been colonized. Even old civilizations. I don't know a lot about that, but I don't really want to go into it because I don't know a lot about it. I don't want to speak from a space of ignorance, but as long as we have Abrahamic religions ruling, regardless of if it's Islam, Judaism, or Christianity, all three of those stem from Abrahamic religions in which God is a male, and a hating ass God, right? I don't believe in that. I don't believe that creation was started by some hate. Or I also don't believe that God, the one that I believe in, is a punisher. They're more like a coach, a support system. That's my interpretation of God. So I think, I don't know, this is interesting where we went with this. I think the thing is that when fear is being pushed, it's important to remain as grounded in your own reality and truth as possible. And that's what this self-worth is, right? Having the courage to change and recognizing yourself when you are getting carried away, right? When you are feeling out of control, toxic, bound to patterns. And patterns even very much especially include thinking. Don't mind my eczema. It's something we're living with now, okay? If you're confused, it's right here. And apparently it shows up on the other, it's something that mimics on both sides of your body, and that's true. And that's how I ruled out what it was. Because I was what is this? But yeah, I know it's ugly, it hurts, and it's very uncomfortable, and I don't want to live with this anymore, but it's only been the first couple months, so I guess this is just my new reality. But anyway, I don't know, I'm using so much cream and Neosporin and shit, and it will not go away, so I guess I just have it now. But anyway, we have these two very vastly, you can't control anything that's going on in the world. What you can do is, focus on what you're feeling called to do, right? Because you're being called to do something because it's your higher self. You're being activated to make action to support your own divinity. And your own divinity is what's going to help raise the consciousness of the planet, right? And again, that's not just humans, that's everybody. Divine intervention and detours. I don't think I should really do a decolonizing consumerism. And I think that's where I'll end. I think I'll end this reading and move over to that because I'm really talking about this topic. The topic that we will do for decolonizing consumerism is resource extraction. So I think if you're thinking about okay, I'm all over the place. They keep bringing me back to crisis as opportunity. It takes a lot to consistently pivot and rebalance. No, isn't that a shoe brand? New Balance. Okay. It takes a lot to constantly pull yourself and continuously center yourself when all of these things are going on. But I think that's the thing. When there's large crisis, a lot of people get very reactionary instead of reaction versus response. And so again, it's like, you know, the whole collective went crazy today, which I think it's important for us to have collective conversations about, you know, maniacs who have access to the nuclear button. But I mean, think about that. Like, the nuclear rhetoric has been used, God, wow, forever, right? And I'm just thinking about, like, the lifespan of this motherfucker. Imagine when these motherfuckers perish. I mean, obviously it goes very deep, but I don't know. 80 years and you've wreaked so much havoc is like, wow. It puts a lot of shit into perspective. That's within all of our lifetimes. I mean, I don't know your actual lifespan, but like 80 years. That's a normal human lifespan. And like, look at what's happened since that time, like within that time. Which, I think all that to say is like, the way that Iran has responded to all of this, of course there's warfare, but they're going after war. I'm not for war at all, but if you are going to do war, it should be between the two militarized groups, right, involved in the war. Civilians and societal structures and things like that should be left out. And that's where we know that, like, Israel and the United States always play dirty, right? But I think the way that Iran responded with lighthearted, again, it was very much this, like, mentality of, like, and I'm speaking in past tense because today's over and, you know, we'll see what happens. But regardless, all of them are capitalists. They all want a profit, right? So what has happened to us in the time that this has been going on? Regardless of the nuke talk, we've been overcharged for everything, and it's going to continue to get worse. I saw that they wanted complete control of the Strait of Hormuz, Iran, because it's their territory, and that they want to charge like $2 million per ship, so they can use that to rebuild their infrastructure and shit like that. So we'll see what happens in these next 2 weeks. You know, for a man who has backed, well, it's not just him, the administration before as well, I mean all of the administrations since the 80s at least, have backed Israel with, you know, like trillions at this point of dollars. So paying $2 million for ship passage, I don't know, I have no fucking clue. But But I think all of these things impact all of us, right? Because it's just like so crazy to even think about. Like, it's so different from our reality. Like, this is not, like, yes, we are involved, we are having to see these things, but like thinking about that amount of money, you're thinking about having, you know, these power dynamics. I don't know. It's not what we can control. We can only control ourselves. And in these times when the entire collective has latched onto a narrative and is spreading fear and, you know, feeding the fire, it's important to remember that you have an option of disengaging to a certain degree. Again, we want to be very careful about becoming apathetic or ignorant, but we can detach from the collective frenzy and we can become pillars of balance within ourselves. And when we become more firm and balanced and sure, it has a huge ripple effect. And so I guess that's what this is about. It's regardless of what's going on, continue to work on yourself. Continue to be the best version of yourself. Continue to pour into yourself. Continue to educate. You know, again, don't detach. So, courage to change with all of that shit in between, with a spark and renewal. Divine intervention. Anytime that you feel alone or feel resistant to yourself, closed off or guarded with your relationship to your higher power or your higher self, yeah, this feminine energy. The feminine energy is nurture. So nurture yourself. Treat yourself. Take care. Because I think that there's just so much information. Everybody has a fucking opinion. Discourse and finding common ground on said opinions is very few and far between. Most people are yelling and arguing and, you know, spreading more bullshit. So focus on what you can control, which is you. Oh god, my shoulder hurts. I don't know what happened. I think I have a pinched nerve or something. I'm sorry. But not really. I think that collective energies really are very dependent on the things that the collective is being exposed to and experiencing. So I know that was long-winded, but I hope it resonated. I hope it made you think about things differently in your involvement. You know, each of us have a role to play. We've talked about that many times, but yeah. Sometimes you have to take chances, let life surprise you. All great things have small beginnings. Believe in yourself and embrace the journey. Not all who wander are lost. Excuse me. Life was meant for a great adventure, and adventure awaits you. Be brave with your life. Never doubt your instinct, and creativity takes courage. So again, just to recap, I don't think I'm gonna do another one today. I need to go to bed. Crisis is a space for opportunity, because you have one of two choices. I'm going to be, you know, the mentality of like, oh man, everything always goes wrong. God hates me, the universe hates me, everybody fucking hates me. I don't want to be here. You know, very low vibrational thinking, right? When a crisis happens. And we've all been there, right? Or you have the opportunity. You know, the system puts struggle on us as a thing to navigate, and then they, like, judge us for how we do that or not do that, right? And so things are hard because they want them to be hard. So, what can you do in your own life to alleviate some of that pressure, some of that stress? What can you do to look out for yourself? What can today you do for tomorrow you that you next week is going to be like, oh my God, I'm so glad and grateful? Right? Think about yourself in those terms. What did yesterday do that today you really appreciated? Right? And what can you continue to do? And as you do that, it's going to be harder and harder for you to get stuck in a space of lack or victimhood, which is what all of these charades and everything happen. That's what they want. They ultimately want people to be distraught. And I'm not saying that atrocities and massacres aren't happening, but we can hold compassion and love for that stuff along with our anger and our rage and, everything we feel becomes fuel for what it is that we want to create. And what we want to create begins with who we are. You already are a creation. How can you find balance within yourself so that when these things keep happening, you aren't knocked all the way off? It's not something that you have to recover from because you never really allowed it to get you like that. I guess it's about really tapping into your intuition and coming into consciousness and recognizing these patterns for what they are, right? So it's like observing and not absorbing, right? Anything else? Believe in yourself, go out and make things happen, and enjoy today. Have a good one.